Well, we're back at it. Episode 4 of Built Not Motivated. Once again, I am your host, Keefe Williams, and I am an online fitness coach who lost 55 pounds. And today, in episode 4, I want to talk about the top 10 ways to lose fat, right? So, none of this stuff is going to be groundbreaking. These are just the top 10 ways or the top 10 things that I did to help me lose weight. And as you notice, for you guys on YouTube, we got a visual aid today. I stole my kid's whiteboard. So for those of you on YouTube, follow along with me. If you're on Spotify or Apple Music, that's all right. Listen along and I'll explain everything as we go. First thing is going to be to bring the intensity. Now, what do I mean by bringing the intensity? So when you're working out, or when I was working out, I was hammering it. I'm putting in the effort. I'm not just going through the motions. I'm not just telling myself, all right, I need to get to the gym. I need to get this 45-minute workout done. I am actually bringing the intensity. Whether or not I want to be there, as we talked about before, there's a system. So my system was to get the workout done. But what you have to do is you have to bring the intensity, because when you bring the intensity, you're more focused, you're going through the motions properly, and you're getting a better high intensity workout out of it, right? Now, as I mentioned before, I take rest breaks that are roughly between 2 and 3 minutes long, right? Obviously, I'm not bringing the intensity during that. As I mentioned, I'm doing my steps, right? I'm getting my steps in, walking around. But while I'm actually going through the lift, I'm going through the workout, I'm repping everything out, I am bringing the intensity. I want to be there. You have to trick your mind to do that sometimes, right? Another thing with that, um, I on my cardio, I'm bringing the intensity on my cardio. I'm getting my 100 minutes in during that week, and I'm either doing high intensity interval training, or I'm pushing myself on my runs, or even on like a bike, a stationary bike. You're bringing the intensity. You're doing some sort of like high intensity interval training on the bike, right? Now, I you can go and you can do the stair stepper for an hour, right? At level 3. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, you're getting steps in that way and you're getting a little bit out of it, but you're not getting the most out of it that you should be. So I did the stair stepper there was times I would do it for 45 minutes in a day, but I'm going at like 10 speed. So, and that also goes with like the biking that I did. I never biked more than 15 minutes on our stationary bike because I brought the intensity. You can go ride a bike for 2 hours. You're not going to burn as many calories as you are in 2 hours as you would in, say, 15 minutes if you're really, really bringing the heat and you're bringing the intensity. So making sure that you're getting the most out of all your workouts, and that's where bringing the intensity comes in. Next one. This one's huge. Counting your calories, and to go along with that, we're going to throw in being in a deficit. Okay. People say that they know what they eat. They know everything that they put in their mouth, everything that goes into their stomach, right? But for some reason, they can't lose weight. Okay. 9 times out of 10, that's bullshit. I understand there's, hormones and all of that stuff to go along with this, but 9 times out of 10, if you're not counting your calories and you're not being intentional with what you're eating, you're not actually in a deficit. Some people think that they're in a deficit because they're eating less, but realistically, they're probably eating more fat. Well, there's 9 calories in a gram of fat, and there's 4 calories in a gram of protein and 4 calories in a gram of carbs, right? So I'm a prime example of this. When before I started counting my calories, I was eating more fat than I was protein. And it's because I wasn't tracking what I was eating. I didn't know what I was eating. I had no idea most of the stuff had that much fat in it, right? And so being in a deficit and finding, well, originally you want to find your baseline, whether it's 2,200 calories. If that's your baseline, okay, drop it from there. If you're if you start to kind of plateau a little bit, um, and say you've dropped it from 2,200 to 2,100 or whatever your number is, well, you can up your cardio, like we talked about in step one. You can either up your cardio or you can reel back your calories a little bit more. But those two kind of go hand in hand. If you're not in a position to where you can do more cardio, well, then you're probably gonna have to eat a little less. If you are somebody who wants to or can do 3 hours of high intensity cardio in a week, okay, well, you can afford to keep those calories up a little bit. But for me, being at that 100 minutes and being at about a 1,900 caloric deficit, those two things going hand in hand, though that really helped me lose weight, right? So then to go in with counting calories, we're going to roll with meal prep. And mostly to go along with, well, let's say it like this. When you meal prep, your time management is a lot better. You don't have to worry about making breakfast, lunch, and dinner and finding snacks all day, right? You do it one day of the week or you do it 2 times a week, however your schedule lines up, whatever your system has. And you know what you're eating, you're intentional with what you eat because you've already tracked everything, you've already meal prepped, you can copy and paste it from one day to the next. So if I have, spaghetti for dinner, like I said, I'm the kind of person that I can eat the exact same thing 7 days in a row. So when I do that, I know what my dinner is going to be every day that week. And then if I want to change it up 2 or 3 times during lunch, okay, that's fine. But planning it out and meal prepping those things. So if you meal prep 2 lunches and you have 3 meals each of that, okay, make them about the same. Same goes with breakfast. If you have the exact same thing for breakfast every day, if it's 2 pieces of toast, a little bit of butter, your egg whites, and your bread. Did I say that? Bread, butter, egg whites. Yeah, those 3 things. If that's what you're having every morning for breakfast, okay, you already know about where that number is going to be. And then when you say you have about 1,500 calories, 500 calories per meal, roughly, that's what I like to do. So, 3 by 500 is 1,500. Now you have about 400 or so calories to play with on your snacks. Change your snacks up every day. That's what I did. I can't even give a good example right now. Probably just like cauliflower and dip. Like these are things that I love. I've said this and I'll say it again. I refuse to eat something I don't like just to lose weight. Everything that I ate during that 6 months and even to this day, now that I'm on a bulking stage, right? I refuse to eat anything I don't like. It's okay to try new recipes when you got nothing to do. I just did that today. We had some pizza naan bread things, like little hot pockets with homemade dough. I got all day. There's nothing I have to do besides shoot this podcast, and I can hang out with my family, and we're just gonna chill at home because it's negative, I don't know, too much outside, right? So I got off there. But meal prepping, so you know exactly how to plan the rest of your week, and you know exactly what you're going to be eating all week, and you don't have to waste time finding meals and scrambling to find what you're going to eat for your next meal, right? This one's huge for me anyway. Number four is going to be, that looks like a 3. It's not. It's a 2. So getting 12,000 steps in a day. Getting 12,000 steps will burn, obviously it depends on the person, and it depends how active you are and your heart rate and all that good stuff. And if you're bringing the intensity on your steps, or if you're, just on a stroll with your kids, your wife, your dog, what have you. But good rule of thumb is it burns about 500 calories in a day, an extra 500 calories if you're getting up to 12,000 steps. Excuse me. I started off at 8,000 calories or 8,000 steps, and I was losing weight. And then I got to a point where, I upped it and I kept upping it. And 12,000 for me is a lot. Now, as I mentioned in number 2, with counting calories and being in a deficit, the less steps you're able to take, the less food you're going to be able to consume. So with me not wanting to cut back my calories down to like 1,500, which is insane to me anyway, I just kept upping my steps. Like I was like, I have to make it a point to get these extra steps in. Okay. So getting 12,000 steps in, you're active throughout the whole day. Well, most of the whole day. I can get about 5,000 steps in about a 45-minute walk. So we'll say it takes 2 hours of just straight up walking to get 12,000 steps. Well, most people during the day are moving, consistently. Unfortunately for me and my job, there's times where I'm just sitting on my butt, doing paperwork for hours on end. So I don't really have that luxury. A little side note, my wife, when she has a patient cancel, she walks in the hallways. My buddy, on his 15-minute breaks, he goes and walks the halls. Me, on my lunch break, I would just walk pretty much the whole time. And then I would always walk before. So it's like these little things. And as I mentioned, I walked in between my sets. So, doing those little things, well, that helps you eat a little bit more, but you're also burning more calories. So it kind of evens out a little bit, but making sure you have a decent number. Get a number that pushes you a little bit, right? And bring the intensity on those walks as well. All right, number 5 is workout 5 times. Man, I can't spell. Can't spell week right. All right, workout 5 times a week. And the reason I say workout 5 times a week and not 7 and not 3 is because it's a happy medium. 3, I feel like you can't. I mean, you can, and this isn't black and white. This isn't for everybody. My wife, she works out 3 times a week, I believe. I work out 5 still, and 7. 7's too much. If you have to let your body rest, recover, right? And the only way to grow muscle is to rest. Like your muscles, after they get torn down, those little micro tears, well, they need to recover, they need to rest. So giving yourself 2 days throughout the week, that you're bringing the intensity for those 5 days, and then on your 2 rest days, you're still doing your walk, you're still burning calories that way, right? You're not tearing down your muscle, you're not breaking down your muscle, not breaking down, you're not getting those microfiber tears, right? So 3 is you're not really bringing the intensity enough. If you're busy, like I get it. Like this is just what I did, working out 5 times a week consistently and bringing the intensity on those 5 days. It helped me burn the calories that I needed to, right? All right, number 6. I'm just gonna. That one is huge. Sleep. To piggyback off of what I had started talking about in number 5 here, you gotta when you're working out, you're breaking down those. Or I keep saying breaking down the muscle fibers. That's not right. You're making those micro tears in your muscles so that when you eat your protein, that helps recover. It helps build that muscle back, right? That's the point of working out, is you're putting stress and you're doing progressive overload, and you're doing that, right? So when you sleep is when you get the absolute most recovery. um, Having more muscle, you're going to burn more calories. If you have more fat, you're going to burn more, or you're not going to burn as many calories, right? So even though you're bringing the intensity for 5 days, and if you're not getting enough sleep, well, okay, let's reel that back. Say you're working out 7 times a week here, right? And you're not getting enough sleep. I've been there. I've done it. Not great. I was on third shift and I ain't ever going back. So if you're working out for 7 days a week and you're not getting enough sleep, you're burning more calories, yes, but your body's storing more fat, because when you're not getting enough sleep, you're not recovering, and your body just can't operate. And when I say not enough sleep, I'm not talking about 6 hours. I'm talking about like 3 hours. I was getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep after I took our oldest to preschool at the time. I'd go to sleep at 9 and I'd wake up around, 9:30, and I'd wake up around noon. So roughly 2.5 hours a day. And if I was lucky, I'd get a nap later in the day, but most of the time that didn't happen, right? So sleep is important because of recovery. And when you want to recover to build muscle, to make sure that muscle heals properly. And when you have more muscle and when your muscle's healing properly, then you're burning more calories when you're inactive. So that's why sleep is so huge. 7. This one, I don't know if you can control it or not in healthy ways, but be less stressed. Okay. I need to take a drink here. Pardon me. Be less stressed. Okay. What do I do to be less stressed? I work out. I do cardio. I hang out with my family. I watch TV. I watch movies. I do my hobbies, right? When you're less stressed, to go along with sleep, it helps your body recover more efficiently. Okay. And I noticed when I was more stressed, like if I had an awful week, or if something happened in the family and I was just, up to here with it, and I was just super stressed, like I could tell that I was more bloated. Um, and I just felt like my recovery wasn't as good and my sleep wasn't as good. Well, obviously those are the main tiers there for muscle growth and muscle recovery, right? Is the sleep and the relaxation, and yeah, I lost my train of thought there. Sorry. So being less stress, your body can't recover if it's always stressed out, right? So let's hop on number 8, and that's going to be drink water. Because what does water do? It keeps you full. It keeps you hydrated. And I could tell that when I was drinking plenty of water, I would be less hungry throughout the day. I would have more energy. I would have better pumps before my workout. So if I'm working out at 8 o'clock in the morning, before, when I woke up at 6:30 or 7 o'clock, whatever it was, and I had, more water, I was more full. I could, work out fasted if I needed to, and my pump would be a lot better. So I would have more energy, right? Also, to go with that, I mean, I would say drinking 3/4 of a gallon of water is perfect. You don't need to overdo it. You don't need to be drinking over a gallon, but also you don't want to just be drinking 16 ounces of water in a day, right? So the main benefit of drinking water for me was that I didn't have to supplement. I didn't have to consume calories, I should say. I didn't have to consume calories to keep myself full, right? So drinking water, obviously it's beneficial, and there's so many benefits to drinking water. Obviously you need water to live. Like this one here isn't rocket science, and I'm not going to go too in depth with it, obviously, but it just seems simple to me that drinking water, like the more water you drink, the less you're supplementing other calories or calories at all. And yeah, I just think that's obviously, and I shouldn't need to go into that. This one is huge, and this is probably my top 5. Eat whole foods. What are whole foods? Okay, it's not all the processed bullshit, right? I mentioned earlier, I believe it was episode 3. Eat food, or when you're eating and trying to get protein, don't consume a bunch of barcodes, right? Now, what I mean by that is going to Target or Walmart, Hy-Vee, what have you, right? And you're going to the frozen food section and you're getting this meal that says high protein, right? And it's got 30 grams of protein and 600 calories, well, or 500 calories, whatever. Like those 600 calories aren't going to fill you up because the portion size is this big. You know, I could have a whole chicken breast that's probably about 200 grams and 2 whole big ass, excuse me, big ass potatoes, mash them up, bake them, air fry them, whatever I want. And I'm going to get way more out of that meal because it's going to keep me fuller. And people fall off the wagon because they're starving themselves while they're getting all these non-essential calories, or non-essential fats that add up their calories, and they wonder why they're full all the time. It's like, well, you're not eating enough food. You're consuming calories, but you're not being intentional with what you eat. And obviously that goes back with counting your calories and being in a deficit and meal prepping. So whole food examples. You got your chicken, you got your potatoes, you got your berries, your fruit, your vegetables, you got all that stuff. You're not sitting there and eating just a whole bunch of processed foods. And I know everybody says, oh, well, every food is processed. Like, you know what I mean. I'm talking about the stuff with the barcodes that don't fill you up. These like protein bars, protein shakes. I never drank I love protein shakes. I never drank protein shakes on my cut because I was getting all of it from my whole foods. All my protein was coming from, chicken or shrimp or fish, all those types of things. Now, that being said, I have right here a lightly carbonated protein drink. It's 25 grams of protein. It's a bucked up, right? I love the taste of those. When you're in a pinch and you need your protein, well, this has 100 calories and 25 grams of protein. That is straight protein. Is it as good as chicken or shrimp or eggs or egg whites, whatever? No, absolutely not, because it's not going to keep you full. Yes, it has protein, and protein keeps you full, more full than obviously the fats and the carbs, but trying to limit your calories with drinks and trying to, like, if you have to supplement, you have to supplement, but trying to eat the whole foods. It's going to keep you fuller longer, and it's going to give you less cravings, right? So, and then the last one, let's see here. Oh, obviously, this one is going up in all caps, if I can fit it. System. We've talked about this. I don't know if I can drive it home any more than I already have, right? Sticking to a routine and having a system. I kind of mentioned that in the meal prep. If you have to meal prep 2 times a week, do it. All right. Say it's Sunday and Wednesday, whatever you need, right? What I could do is I could meal prep for my 5 working days. And then on my first day off, I could meal prep for my 4 non-working days. Why have I not been doing that? That is a great idea. Damn, now I feel dumb. That's all right. But yeah, getting that system down, making sure that you're checking all of these things every single day. You're bringing the intensity. You're counting your calories and you're being in a deficit. You're meal prepping. you're hitting your 12,000 step count, you're working out 5 times a week, you're getting enough sleep, you're not as stressed, you're drinking plenty of water, and you're eating whole foods. All of that fits in number 10, which is having your system, right? This stuff, as I mentioned, like, it's not rocket science. This is just stuff that I have done because I've been there. Like I've mentioned, I lost 55 pounds, and now my goal is to help people, specifically like guys over 30, first responders. That's my main clientele so far, people who fit actually both of those, is 30-year-old first responders. All my clients are that right now. That's not to say that I won't or can't help anybody else, but those are the people that I can relate to the most, right? And I'm familiar with the system that is needed to get that done, right? None of those guys have kids, so when I talk to them about the system, like, I have to remember, oh shit, you have way more free time than I do, right? You can be a little bit more lenient, but to go along with that, they're probably going to see results a little more quicker, right? Which is my goal, to get people results within like 30 days. Like I said, if you join my program within the first 30 days, if you don't see any measurable results, well, guess what? I'll just give you back your money. But the thing is, you have to follow the system. The system's there because it's a winning system. I did it. I am a walking testament to that. People said that, they want to get on that Keefe Williams diet. Well, guess what? You can do it. You can absolutely do it. Take 6 months max, probably, out of your life and kill it. It just kind of depends on what your goals are. Yeah. So in closing, if you do these things consistently, there's more. I wanted to put in more, but I wanted to keep it short and kind of simple for today. I just wanted an easy 10 things, but there's more to it. You can take out some of these things, right? You can take out the meal prep. You don't have to meal prep. It helped me, bring the intensity. You don't have to bring the intensity. Well, guess what? You're just going to be in the gym longer, and you're going to be running and doing more cardio and doing more HIIT longer, right? Eat whole foods. You don't have to eat whole foods. Absolutely not. But you're going to be hungry all the time, and you're not going to be getting all that nutrition, and you're getting more sodium, and you're probably going to end up being more bloated, and then you're going to feel shit. You're going to feel like shit because now you're bloated, and you're carrying around all that extra water weight and that extra weight, and you're going to be miserable. Sleep, yeah, you don't have to do that. You're just not going to recover as quick. These are all things that when you put it together, they help. They make it that much better, right? So like I said, if you want a helping hand, if you want to get started, hit me up. This podcast, I've gotten a lot of good feedback, and I've gotten, my clients so far all listen to this podcast, and, I'm greatly appreciative of you guys. And I'm not going to, I told them, I'm not going to mention your name. I probably shouldn't have mentioned that they don't have any kids, but it's not a big deal. This world's big, right? It's not like all my clients are local, that's what the internet's for, right? So yeah, that's what we got here. I can put a system in place and help you get through all this stuff, right? So that's what I got for today. These are the 10 things that helped me lose weight. I stuck to these every day. So if you want that, we can make it happen. All right. I guess that's all I got for today. Appreciate everybody for listening and watching, and hopefully this visual aid was nice for you today. So if there's anything else that you think I should have done differently, hit me up, and I want to make this the best experience for everybody that I can. Thank you. Bye.